Hey, how's it going, everyone? Today we got another match analysis for you guys. This one is how we came back from a losing game. Just going to show you guys how macromanaging and the strategies and sort of the things that I'm doing when we're put in these sort of situations. A lot of it too is also luck, who you team up with. Fortunately, I had a lot of good people on my team, a lot of guys from the Discord. So if you guys want to look for a good community or good people to join, go ahead and consider joining us in our Discord. I'll put the link below. And yeah, I was with some really good teammates here, so we were able to effectively get a pretty good comeback going here. But overall, the matches in the beginning, it's going a little slow here, but I was able to maintain my cool and be able to effectively communicate with our friends to get this comeback going. So here we're just going to get our anti-air first of all, the Vityaz, and then I love the Sosnas. I'm a big fan of the Sosnas. I think Sosnas are god tier. So again, two of those. Also want to get some, I believe some infantry going here, some Morskaya. I like that we could carry, I like using the BT3F because mainly we're able to carry 2 units and just one of those vehicles, but it doesn't really have any good anti-infantry. It doesn't really have any other capabilities besides transporting units. Also, I'm going to apologize if there's any background noise in there. I'm trying to do my best to limit whatever noise you guys might hear coming in from the mic. But so I'm sorry if you guys are hearing some random audio coming in from other sources. Doing my best to limit that. But until I get another mic, just gonna have to deal with it for now. So we got our Vityaz and our Sosnas coming up and our Moskaya. Here we're mainly focusing on capturing the left objectives, H and G, trying to focus on the left lane there, or the middle left lane there. This is a pretty fun map. I like going on this map. I think my least favorite map in this game is probably going to be Baltisk. I really do not like that map. I mean, it could just be me. Maybe I'm just garbage and I should do better. But that is my least favorite map. Here they got a bunch of air units. I don't know how many that was, maybe around 8. We have our Vityaz here. I think here I'm going to take out the radar. I'm just checking to see, to time it. I don't have any Beryusa or anything to counter any enemy missiles here, especially from the Yacid. Then I'm going to go ahead and get some Verba here, just for anti-air, some more anti-air. So I got 2 Sosnas and 2 Verbas. I really like going in on the anti-air just to have them just in case. It's more of a prudential thing. I feel like a lot of strategies that are, or a lot of the way I think about this game is just being really prudential, trying to account for the future and just trying to be really mindful of what might happen and being very careful with what decisions I make here. Having just super careful consideration for the future. That's what we're doing. So bringing up our Sosnas here. Not going to get a pretty big push going here on H here. I'm trying to gauge what they're going to do, see what's going to happen here. So we do see some jets flying low here. They're shooting at the friendly AA. And then also, I'll go ahead and release this video without the match analysis, just in its pure form, just so you guys could see it unfiltered, or just exactly how we played it with the commentary from the live match, and see how that video does. Because usually I just like to oh my goodness, my voice there. I usually just like to do a match analysis over this, just so that way I could see where I need to improve, and also you guys could see what the things that I'm doing correctly, and see what areas I could look at for just opportunity for growth. Because that's what a lot of this game really is, just learning and improving. Here we're getting some more trainees. These guys are pretty fun to use. I'm making a mistake here though, not really having a really good frontline armor. Let's see, we got some more. Getting a little bit of push here with our Sosnas. Again, sorry if you hear any background noise. I do live with other people, but I'm going to try to limit that as much as possible. So trainees moving up. We got some damage there to our BT with the Verba, but nothing we can't handle. But I think my biggest mistake here is not having any really good vehicles, at least for supporting the front line. So if we get pushed there by a bunch of tanks, I don't really have any good anti-armor capabilities. So that's my biggest problem right here, is that I really went focused too much on the infantry and the anti-air. I think that I could have went less on the infantry and more on the armor. I would have been better off here in the beginning. But here I made that mistake of just trying to get a really good rush in the middle, and then here they do have 2 striker units pushing up on here, and I'm not going to be able to handle that as well as I would have if I would have just maybe taken 1 Morskaya and less Verbas and another, probably just some more armor, because I had 2 Sosnas. I could have just taken 1 Verba, got rid of the other 2, and then gotten rid of 1 Morskaya and just taken some light tank, or some heavy tanks, medium tanks, even a Terminator or a T-15 Barbarous. So here we notice that we need some form of heavy armor, so we get the Terminator. I should have done that. That was my biggest mistake here, was not doing that earlier in the game, so that cost me my 2 units there. It's pretty much just free points for them. So that's one of the biggest things, is not balancing out the amount of units I have, or depending on not balancing out the unit types. I put too much more into infantry and anti-air rather than having a good balance between all the units together. And here I wasn't able to adequately support my front line, and those units were taken out. But we do have a good line here of anti-air units. We're holding back our Verbas just before we push in. We don't want to push in and lose those units as well. And then we're going up and moving our Vityaz. Going to make sure all of our units are close together, but not too close to the point where they're going to get nuked and get all obliterated or just artilleried. So we're getting some Magnolias to get some more anti-armor capability. Again, I like to sort of structure the way I have units with specific roles. So for the Magnolias, they're purely for anti-armor. And then for my, I use my Bergs for anti-artillery. So here we're getting a little bit pushed by those strikers. And I make the mistake here of putting the Churney in there. I don't know why I did this. That was not really a good decision. They just have the grenade launchers, which do a little bit of damage to enemy vehicles, but it's not going to be that effective against this striker here. Do look at that, very little damage, and we shock them, but we're going to lose here in this engagement. So it would have been much wiser to hold our units back here before we see. Look, they already have. I'm saying that was a huge mistake right there. I was doing my teammates a disservice by not adequately providing support to my front line and just sort of throwing units out there, which is what I was doing here. And we do eventually come back from this. We start making better decisions, but a lot of these little decisions that we're making here are going to really decide who wins this early engagement. And I'm just doing a very poor job at providing a really good front line, at least everything's supporting each other, because again, the way I like to think about things is that everything's a machine. You need all the parts working together harmoniously in order for it to function properly. And here we do not have all the parts working together, and so other parts are being taken advantage of. And here our Churney is taking the brunt of the force there. So we have our Terminator coming up to support, which we should have had something like this in the very beginning, but we made that mistake. So we're going to try to get those Churney in the forest to get them some cover, at least some forest cover. Then we got some Vina coming up to support our infantry, mainly with some smoke, and then to counter infantry and just get rid of any infantry that might be on H. And then also to just make sure that if we need to fall back, we have a nice line of fire for mainly for smoke, because smoke is really useful. A lot of people don't utilize smoke, and smoke can get you out of a lot of sticky situations, and you will definitely see that here later in the video. Definitely make a pretty good use of those smokes. So here, a Terminator did get some good hits on that enemy vehicle, but we're gonna go ahead and pull him back out. Don't have any more ammunition to really do a good amount of damage to the enemy tank unless we get to the sides of him, and then we push up our Churney way too much there. So again, another mistake of not knowing when to retreat or pull back. So I'm making a lot of mistakes here, guys, but one of the really important things is to be able to identify those mistakes, see what you're doing incorrectly, and then be able to come up with a solution to that. And here is like, okay, well, the solution would have been, obviously in the very beginning, provide adequate support to my infantry, and to also, in this situation, retreat my units. Here we did not do that, so we suffer the price. We suffer for it. And we got our cat right here. We're going to go ahead and support our friendly on the left side. They're getting a little bit pushed here with those striker units or those light vehicles. So we're trying to anticipate where they might be and use I believe they're cruise missiles or ballistic missiles to try to take out those units. Just put a little bit more pressure on them to say, hey, don't come here. We're going to attack you. Kind of just trying to deflect them or to deter them from getting a further push. We do notice that we do have some enemies on H. They have whatever the Russian variant of the TOW is, they have that there. So we're not going to push up with our armor just yet. We want to make sure that we're able to get some infantry there. And they destroyed our vehicle that our Verba was in. So we're going to try to get a good angle here on this enemy vehicle. Another thing too that we're not making really good use of here is recon. As you notice, I'm just sort of throwing my units out there without having adequate intelligence about just with the whereabouts of the enemy units, and that this is costing me a lot here. So I'm making a lot of mistakes. And again, just as long as you're able to identify those and figure out where you need to improve, then you can make the correct adjustments. Here I recognize that I need some more supplies, so I'm gonna quickly get my MT here, and that thing is really fast. I'm surprised with how fast that thing can move, especially for how small it is too. The carry capacity, super good. We lose that vehicle there. We start putting some arty on H to sort of weed out those infantry, get some kills there. And then for this one, we get our Terminator going. going to put some pressure on this enemy vehicle here. I'm going to go ahead and back out our Terminator because we do see that enemy tank coming in. Don't want to get hammered by that. Again, like I said, guys, sorry if you hear any background noise. Trying to limit that as much as possible. So we're going to go ahead and slowly move up our units. And then we'll also notice here too that we're doing a firing and moving, where once we get a decent amount of time of firing artillery from one position, you're going to want to move because they will definitely try to counter you and destroy your units. If you're not moving, then you're just sort of standing there out there in the open because they can see where you're shooting from. If they're able to identify that, they're going to definitely, if they're a good player, they're going to definitely counter you and try to take you out. So you're going to want to make sure that you're always moving with artillery as much as you can. I know some vehicles is a lot harder to, like the MLRS, they have a higher aim time, so it's going to be a lot harder to move them on the run or gun and run with them. So we get our Terminator to engage the enemy tank. That's not going to win that. Putting some more pressure on the enemies on H using our Venas, and then we're going to move our Venas as well because I see that they're being a little bit aggressive here, so he might end up doing some artillery on me. Just want to anticipate what they might do. We have our Cessna there putting the pressure on the enemy heli. He's going to be able to take it out. Yep, love the Cessna. Probably my favorite sort of a frontline AA. Very good. Just doesn't really have any good capabilities against armor. Doesn't have any APS system as well. And I don't think it has smokes, but we could check here later. So here we're pushing back. Pushing our Vena back. We lost the BMP, or the Terminator. Here we're going to go ahead and get some cheap but still decent quality tanks. Get some 2 T90s, just so that way we have some armor capabilities to go against the enemy armor here. And here they're pushing up on my point. They don't really have any AA, so we're going to go ahead and at least deny them any air support here, which is going to be good. And we're going to use our Venas to keep putting pressure on the enemy here. And then we're going to use our Catran with a cruise missile, just in case we need it. I'm not sure if we use it, but we have it here ready. Usually I like to use it if they stop moving with their vehicles and they forget about it. It's an easy target. They're just sending ducks, so you're able to use that cruise missile there. So we're going to go ahead and move our Catran back up here. And we noticed that our Cessna over there, we weren't paying enough attention to it, and it's going to be getting taken out. So again, a lot of this is just trying to be mindful of all your units and where they're at, and be able to, provide attention to them, so that way they're not dying, like just what happened with my Cessna. Moving up our Cornet, just so that way we have some sort of line of defense. I'm not really doing a good job here of, providing the best support to my front line. I'm not bringing out the best units. Definitely did not bring out the best units in the beginning there. So I'm making a lot of mistakes. I didn't have adequate recon. I didn't have the proper support for a good front line. I just didn't have a good balance overall. And that really allowed my enemy to push heavily onto the point and push into my line here. So they're able to break through somewhat. So I'm trying to get other units to push here. Moving my Magnolia back. I have my Catran there just in case it can do some damage to those enemy vehicles. So we have our 2 T90s pulling up. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my supplies and move to a different position. I do like doing that. I don't want to keep my supplies in the same spot. And I like to especially just not leave them in one place. You need to make sure you're picking them up, because if you leave them in the same spot, especially if you bring them up to the front line, they could definitely be stolen, which is, I steal a lot of enemies' supplies a lot. It's just people leave them, they bring them way too close, and then I'm getting a good push, and I'm able to, especially if my units have some damage, that's just free points for me to regenerate, and I take advantage of that. So don't bring your points too close to the front line. I mean, you can, but it's pretty risky. So we have getting a little bit of a better front line going here. 2 T90s, and I try to support our units by taking out whatever is in the forest there. So looking here that we're not doing the best. Our team is definitely behind on all the points. But again, just you wait. We're going to get a pretty good offensive or counter-offensive going here shortly. So we're going to utilize our Magnolia, try to get some more pressure going on them. Always trying to keep our units doing something. You don't want them just sitting there and not being effective. And another thing too, later in the video, is that I'm not paying close enough attention to my command points. And each time that your points keep building up to, we're in a situation where you could have possibly spent them, is just more time that is being spent for them having to get to that area, instead of you just like paying attention and then utilizing those points when, you're able, instead of just having them stack up, which later on in the video, I end up making the mistake and having them stack up. And then when I could have brought them 20 seconds later, I didn't. And then so obviously that 20 seconds is a huge the 20 seconds that it takes for them in that time frame, I could have had them already up on my front line, which I didn't because I made the mistake of not paying attention to my command points. Here they're trying to get a pretty good offensive going here. We're going to just sort of do the best we can with the units that we have, use our Magnolia to sort of counter that push with the cluster shots. Going to move up our other infantry units as well. One of the T-90s was killed. We have our other T-90 there. Gonna use smoke on him, and then we're gonna fire near our position. I should have just fired on my position and got him out of there because they're doing a pretty big aggressive push here. And then thankfully we have our friendly here on the left. Thankful for Sigil there. He's getting a pretty good flank there on these enemy units. Could definitely help me out a lot. Then I'm going to call some arty on my position just because I know by the time that it fires, I'm probably going to be out of there and he'll probably be on that spot. Going to refill our supplies there. Again, make sure that we're not firing from the same spot that we resupply. Just going to be a target for enemy artillery. And we're going to fan out our units here and then drop off our Motoreski here to do some damage. And then we're going to pop some smoke with our other units there to make sure that they don't engage them, the enemy units. Then we have our, I believe that is the Terminator or the T-15. Yeah, the T-15 there. Going to engage those enemy strikers or light vehicles. And we're going to get some more pressure being put on that light vehicle there. And we notice that they have a enemy tank coming up, so we're going to put some artillery rounds near the back of my Barbarous just to anticipate his push there. Now we notice that he's also pushing back, so he's getting a little afraid there. He's losing units, and he's going to go on the retreat. And we know that the Russian tanks don't have the best reverse, so we're going to utilize that knowledge, and we're going to use our Magnolias, and we're going to build a line of artillery fire right where he's going to potentially be, or where we think he might be at. So here we're going to make use of the creating a path, and then for our Marskaya, so that way we can get close enough to engage that enemy tank. And then once we get close enough, we're going to just double click U, drop them, and then we have two of them, so we're going to do pretty good damage on that vehicle, and then this other light vehicle. So we're able to take them out, and then we're going to start putting some more artillery rounds on the enemy infantry there. And then we're going to pull, I believe we start pulling back our Marskaya. Then we're going to push up our Barbarous, get those Motostrelki guys back and regenerate them because they do lose some units. So we're going to want to make sure that we are resupplying. So that way we have a proper force when we reinforce our front line. Then we're going to get another Sosna because I noticed that we don't have the adequate anti-air just in case we need to push up. Now here we're just going to try to put some more rounds on the enemy tanks. So that way we can do a little bit of damage and just kind of deter them from pushing further. We're going to push up our Marskaya and our Barbarous. So just putting some more rounds in there, trying to make the way. So here we're able to get more of a front line, but again, I'm not having the adequate support, especially if they were to bring helis out. I would have definitely been taken out there. I don't have any Sosnas or even any Verbas, which is something that I'm going to want to have. So here we're going to go ahead and start utilizing the smokes from our Venas. We're going to make a line changing the firing mode, and I'm going to get ready to push onto H. And then I believe we do have a Sosna coming up, so we will have here soon a decent frontline anti-air unit to provide cover for our main frontline units. And then we do have some anti-tank capabilities. Those Marskayas do have some rocket launchers capable of penning, I believe, and then our Barbarous there can do some damage to heavy tanks. Yeah, so we have our Sosna coming up on the left. We have our Catran there just in case we need to send some cruise missiles. But again, I'm getting a little too aggressive here rather than being patient. And I could have been more patient to build up my forces, especially along the tree line there, and just let them sit there while we get some more reinforcements. So that way, if they get a counteroffensive, I'm able to hold that objective. And which is something that I was not able to do. I was getting a little too impatient, getting too focused on just wanting to take the objective, when I should have been waiting to amass a good amount of a balance of units to make sure that I'm able to have and hold the front line here. So we have our Vina. We notice that we're not taking the objective, so I'm assuming that they're probably somewhere in the other buildings. So we're just going to start getting some arty rounds on there to try to kill whatever is in those buildings. And another thing here too I'm not doing effectively is moving. Again, it is really hard to make sure that you're doing all the right things in this game, so don't beat yourself up too much, but I should have been definitely moving those already. I just let them sit there and keep firing. Need to make sure that I'm firing and moving. Don't want to stay in the same spot for too long. It's going to be a target for enemy artillery and for missiles. And then we noticed that we sent some ballistic missiles or cruise missiles to engage the enemy there, but they had a AA in the back, so pretty much rendering our CatRan ineffective. So we're going to move up our units, try to get some more infantry support. And like I said, there they have a enemy heli pushing, and we weren't able to even engage with that. We had to rely on our friendly units on the left there in order to even engage that, because we didn't have the proper support. And our Sosna's just sitting there in the back, so I'm just pretty much not utilizing him as effective as it could be. I need to push him up. So we're going to go ahead and push up our other T-15, get some more support there. And then I believe we're going to move up our Sosna, because we noticed that we need to make sure that we're getting the proper support to our units if they need them. And then we're going to start engaging these enemy infantry with our Minos. We're utilizing here a lot of our artillery pieces, our support pieces, which is pretty much saving us here in this game. Able to put a lot of pressure on the enemy there, never letting him breathe, making sure that we're constantly attacking him with whatever we have and be able to reinforce our units in the front line here. So here we have our Morskayas. We're going to get our, I believe those are the PDSS, to sort of get some intelligence on where those enemy units are. And then we finally realize where they're at. And they're going to do some pretty decent damage there. So that was, I should have pulled them back when I saw them and just let my T-15 handle that. Much better at effectively taking out the infantry than those Morskayas, because my guys are just getting messed up right there. We notice that they're going to start getting some vehicle pushes, so we're going to use our Magnolia to anticipate where they might be and just get a line of fire going there. We're going to drop off our PDSS, get in those buildings, sort of spread them out to get a better line of sight on both sides. So here we're finally getting some recon late in the game. We're going to get our other Magnolia to get some more fire going in on these forest here. Spreading out the distance of fire so that way, or the area of fire so that we have a better area of effect there. They have a bunch of units that they're pushing with, but we're able to halt it a little bit. We have 3 T-15s there. We are out of ammunition on those Vena, so we're going to make sure we weren't supplying it enough as we should have been. And we're going to get our Barbarous out of there. We're going to try to save him, and then pull him back to the back line to get him properly supported or resupplied. Here again, just using our Magnolia, trying to put some pressure on. I really like using those guys because they have a really short aim time. I believe it's like 5 to 8 seconds. I could be wrong, but I know it's something along the lines of that. And we have our 2 Cherney, or 1 Cherney there. Probably should have not pushed that with our Cherney. Could have been, it probably would have been better if I used those Motostrelki. So once we get close enough, we're just going to drop off those units, and then our Cherney is already taking a bunch of damage because I should have dropped them off way earlier in the forest and allow my Terminator to engage that. Again, making a lot of little mistakes here, guys. That's really preventing me from getting a pretty good offensive going here. Not able to utilize the units that I have the most effectively to take H and help out my team with the zones here. So a lot of this is on me. I should have been doing better, making a lot of early game mistakes and micromanaging mistakes, and making really dumb decisions with the units that I have. So a lot of this game was on me, not being the best decision maker here. I was trying to resupply our units here with the Vena and the CatRan, using our Magnolia to put some more pressure on the enemy vehicles. We see there that we were able to get a kill. Just putting some more pressure on them. We have our T-15 Barbarous there. I'm going to go ahead and RTB that BT, I think, or I guess not. Move those PDSS out so we could get some more intelligence on the flanks, just in case the enemies want to push us. And a good thing that we were able to move with our vehicle, the T-15. Don't want to stay in the same spot for enemies to artillery you. So here we're doing pretty decent. They're gonna start getting a really big push here on H. And as you can see, I'm kind of low on reinforcements. I don't have the adequate support to engage those enemy vehicles. They have about, what, 3 or 4 tanks right there. And then our Vityaz is taking hits. See, this is because I did not move my artillery pieces as much as I should have. That's going to be one of the most important things you're going to want to do, especially with having a lot of support units. Make sure that you're always firing and moving, again, as much as you can. I know with certain units it's a little harder, but you just got to try your best. So we're just getting a lot of this is getting the wrong units not at the right time. So our Sosnas are there, but we don't even need our Sosnas. So it's like we need to make sure that we're keeping that balance and that sort of coherency throughout the entire game, because without that, we're not going to be able to maintain a good offensive or even a good defensive. We're just missing certain pieces at times that we need them, and it's gonna cost you. So here I was getting a little annoyed, obviously, with my T-15 because I didn't want him going out in the field. I wanted him to start retreating because of the low health. I believe it looks like he only has 1 HP. But they start getting a lot of tanks moving up. We noticed that, so we're going to start getting some pressure on the those tanks there with our Magnolia. And then I was trying to anticipate where he was going to be with those vehicles, so I launched some cruise missiles, but I came off a little bit too short there, as you can see. I should have gone there a little closer, but then again, you kind of run the risk of having that happen if you're anticipating where they're going to be, especially with cruise missiles. And it takes a long time to also resupply that, so not the best move there. Going to resupply our Magnolia, he's almost done. Arvina is still waiting on that HE and some more smoke rounds. So again, we did not have a proper line of support there, so we weren't able to hold that objective. Again, not having the correct units when I needed them. Again, it's just maintaining that proper balance the entire time, so that way you're able to, if one part's going bad, you have another part to immediately replace that. So that way your entire sort of frontline coherency, everything that's up there is able to still be the most effective and efficient. And here I was just not able to do that. So here I noticed that they have some enemy artillery, so we're going to identify them and get our own enemy or our own artillery to counter arty them. Oh my goodness, I cannot speak today. Actually, I can never speak. Always have problems. But let's get some more supplies for our units. We noticed that we run out. I didn't do that quick enough, so now my units are going to be there just sitting ducks waiting for the reinforcements when I should have had that called up way sooner. Then we're just going to try to use our cruise missiles to put a little bit of pressure on those units. I don't think that's going to actually hit anything. But we'll wait and see. It seems like it actually might, and no, it gets intercepted in a weird way. Interesting. So, I don't know why I decided to do that again. Yeah, okay, interesting. Again, not making the best decisions here. That's why I like doing these match analysis, so you guys could see the mistakes that I'm making, and then you could also learn from it. Then I also can improve. So we have I think those are, what are those, T80Us? 4 T80Us coming up. So we already have a decent line. We only have 1 Cessna, but they're pretty good enough to deal with at least 2 to 4, depending on how good the enemy player is. 2 to 4 helis if they push us. Most likely just 2. So we have our T80Us coming up with a T15 Barbarous and also our Berg to counter arty. Trying to get somewhat of a good offensive going here back on H. And we're going to start firing on their position with our artillery piece here. And our friends are doing a really good job on the left and the right, especially my buddies on the right. They're Cyber, he's on the right side there. He's able to effectively hold, hold his own, and they were able to hold the objective for a good amount of time. But they're doing a really good job of allowing us to focus entirely on the left side here. So they're doing a great job on the right side, making sure that they're at least holding their own and contesting those points, which they are doing. They're doing a good job. So here we still have T90s. We're gonna start pushing up with our units. They don't really have any a bunch of helis, so we're gonna use that and sort of do some inductive reasoning here. It can suggest that they're probably not gonna have any other helis pushing up, so we don't need to rely too much on our anti-air here. Mainly just get a good front line here of tanks and infantry, which is what we're gonna do. We're gonna smoke out this entire area, so that way if they have any units that are anti-armor or just whatever units they have, they're not gonna be able to see us and engage us. Just provide some basic cover for our units. See here, there are Cessnas, or those 2 Cessnas are engaging. Another cool thing too is I did have that Cessna from Sigil there, so he was really great at supporting us. Again, like a lot of this game too, guys, is just having the good teammates. And here I'm really fortunate to have a server with really good people that I know how to play the game well and that are willing to learn. It's always a good time. So we have our units spread out here to engage from different directions, or I try to. Going to start pushing our T15 Barbarous on the left there with the support of a T90, get 1 T90 moving down the middle, and then have 2 T90s pushing on the right side. So we do see a bunch of units that are in the forest, so we're going to go ahead and get some pressure going in on that side. Just going to fire on my position, since I'd rather just not try to anticipate where they're going to be and just fire at where they're at least in that situation there. And I'm gonna fire a little ahead because I know that if we engage those units, they might push back. So we're just making sure that we're utilizing the artillery the best that we can there. So I believe we're gonna win this engagement here. I'm not sure. This match was filmed a few days ago, so we're able to take them out. We're able to do some damage with our support. So we're doing pretty good here. Gonna keep putting the pressure on them. And then we're gonna make sure that we halt our units because we did damage our own, unfortunately there. I'm gonna try to push up on H, capture H, but we were able to get a pretty good counteroffensive there. Thankfully, Sigil was there on the left, so I have really good teammates again to support me and to make sure that we're able to focus each on our own lane and provide support when necessary to each other. But I'm mainly being supported by Sigil here. He's doing a great job at covering my back and having my back. So we got our another Vina. We're gonna put some more pressure on the enemy that are entrenched there. Able to take them out and eventually take that objective. We're going to go ahead and put some more pressure on the forest line there, just because they're probably going to be there with their enemy units, at least their last known position from what we gathered. So we're going to push up our Sosna, push up our Vena. We're going to start getting our units up there a little bit more, so that way we could begin to have a better offensive here. And then I completely forget about the back line here. Again, not paying good enough attention to my units and supporting them when necessary. I completely forgot about them. So we're going to go ahead and move up a little bit. Going to get our Morskaya push there. So we're doing some more damage to that light vehicle. We did lose that infantry unit, but we're contesting H now. We are currently getting it. I'm going to get a line of fire on that tank position, and they do end up firing on my spot. Going to try to get my units out of there, but I believe they get taken out. Again, I stayed way too long in that position with those units. I like to, like I said, move within, at least in my other videos, moving within anywhere from, I believe it was 10 to 12 seconds or 12 to 15 seconds with vehicles. Just going to be really important to get out of sticky situations, or not put yourself in a situation where you're getting RD'd. So we lost those units, and that offensive wasn't the best there. So we're going to put some more pressure on the enemies in the buildings on the left. I'm going to try to motor the right as well in the forest, so that way we can take out that vehicle if we get lucky enough shots. Again, here I'm also not utilizing reconnaissance, as I'm not utilizing it all here, actually. I need to improve upon that quickly, so that way I'm able to get proper intelligence and make full use of my artillery there. So at least we're doing okay at getting some more pressure going here. Trying to support my units a little bit more in the front. Gonna move up that, I think that's a Cornet, I believe. Gonna call some more T-80s. Pretty cheap units. I like using them. Quick, effective, efficient. Gonna use that Cornet to take H. And Sigil's doing a really good job there on the left, putting some pressure on them, so that way I'm able to move up in the middle there. And I'm surprised that they don't go down the middle from D, sort of flank me on the right there, because it's pretty much open. That's one of the big things too, is that even that I struggle with is recognizing when the flanks are open and when to push them, and that because you get so hyper focused on one lane that it's kind of like not even in your view, even though it is. It's like you just pay no attention to it, which is something that is just really hard to do. It's just sort of that in-game IQ and the in-game awareness. But yeah, see, our friendlies on the right side are doing good there, able to capture those objectives. They're doing really good. Here, just regenerating our units. We got 2 cat rounds here, so they do push. At least we have some form of response. And then we do have a bunch of Terminators and those T-80s or T-90s, whatever I called them earlier. So we're going to move up those 3 units, those 3 vehicles, start getting some offensive going there on D. We do have they have a bunch of drones, as you notice there. We don't have our radar on our Vetyas. We should have turned it on, probably been able to take those out. And then we're going to get, yeah, we try to get another Sosna, because I noticed that they have a bunch of drones, and that try to anticipate if they go ahead and get a bunch of helis as well. So we start slowly moving up. We got a force coming in to reinforce this front line. Gonna just start moving up my Magnolias as well, or I guess not. See that enemy vehicle there? Put some pressure on my friendly, so we're gonna, I think we engage him. I'm not sure. No, we don't. Or, yep, I do. I drop some cruise missiles on them. Let's see if it actually hits them. I believe it does. They're not able to, oh, no, they were able to intercept it. I should have sent 2. Would have definitely got them then. Our Cessna is doing a good job at destroying those drones. Friendly Cessna as well. We get our BRM 3K. Gonna do some little form of reconnaissance there. At least just the keep us on alert on the flank there on D. So that way, if any enemies decide to push, we will know that and react properly. So we got our tanks here. I'm gonna start trying to get somewhat of an offensive going here. Push up on the left, the right, and then also we're pushing in on D. So we get those Morskaya out. So that way we could make use of the rockets they have, and then start pushing in on D. Go ahead and take that building there and start contesting for more points, so that way we're able to get this comeback going here. So this is the start of where we actually start getting more of a comeback here. Able to really utilize all the, or we weren't able to utilize them to the maximum effectiveness that we could, but we did it enough to where we could get a good counter-offensive going here, where they weren't able to hold. And so we do it. It was a good reason why we took out that Cessna, because we kind of anticipated that they might bring some helis, which they did, but it was only 1, so not really effective there. They dropped a nuke, but they didn't really kill anything. So we have our units here all together. We're not moving, which is something that you're going to want to be making sure that you're doing. You don't want to be just having your units there sitting there doing nothing. It's not good at all, unless they're specifically for that, like gathering intelligence or just supplying your units, so they're just waiting there to resupply. So we're going to start smoking out those positions, so that way we can get an offensive going there into G. So we're gonna attack from different points, so that way we can hit them from different sides, really make use of all the units that we have here. Also, the speed of the Russians, really getting a blitzkrieg going on here. Gonna start pushing up our units. So we utilize the smoke to cover our push, but they could anticipate that and they could fire into the smoke, which would definitely hurt our units. We're using all of our artillery pieces, and then once we get smoke enough on the points that I want, then we just immediately transition to another area for smoke. And then we notice that they are pushing in with some T90s, so we're going to use our Magnolias with their cluster and just get some firing on them. But we have that Terminator and that T-15 there, or no, that T-90 and that T-15 there with those Morskaya, so we're able to take that out. So we're going to cancel our Magnolia, hold E on them. We're going to push them up as well. Start really to push up our units, so that way we can support them all together. Again, your units are a machine. You don't want to be extending the machine too far, or else certain parts of the machine isn't going to be able to adequately support the other parts. So here we're able to take that. We should have just taken those points, free points again. They left them out there out in the open. So we're taking G now. We're going to move our Morskaya out, start moving up our T-80, so that way the right flank is secure, or at least has some form of offensive there, just in case they decide to push. We could react properly. Then we have our T-15 and that T-90 there to hold the D objective with our Morskaya. Going to start moving up our Magnolias. We're going to get some more T-90s, or no, T-80s, 155, so that we were able to quickly reinforce our units here, or our front line here, because that's what it's going to come down to, especially being able to quickly reinforce the units that we lost, so that way, no matter how many units they're able to pump out, we could respond with the adequate force. So we're going to use smoke to make a safe path for our Terminator to resupply. And then we're going to start moving our units up, so that way they can't RD us. Again, it's a constant moving. You want to be consistently moving, but you want to be making the right decisions. Earlier in the game, I was making a lot of mistakes. I still am here, not doing the best that I could be doing. But as long as you're constantly improving and making small little adjustments throughout the game, you can definitely come back. And that's what it really came down to here, just adjusting and making the right decisions and reacting properly. So there we're just going to put a lot of pressure on that enemy heli. And then again, I wasn't smart enough to move my Cessna up. Would have been able to handle that a lot quicker. So here I'm extending my machine too big here, to where our units aren't able to fully support one another. And so that's why I'm starting to move my Cessnas up, so that way I can have the adequate support for them. And then we're just putting some more pressure, making them retreat, making the enemy freak out. You want to put a lot of pressure on them. It's going to make them make decisions that aren't going to be the best here. A lot of this game too is just controlling your emotions and trying to react in the best way possible. It's going to make them make a lot of mistakes if they react emotionally. So here we're able to put a lot of damage. We're going to start using our artillery pieces here to engage the enemy here, and also use our cruise missiles since we have them. Just put a bunch there. I don't even know if those really did anything, but we're going to make use of them. And so we have a pretty good offensive line up in the front. Our Sosna isn't there, so that is a big mistake. Oh yeah, never mind, it's on G, so we could reinforce this just enough if we, and then our cruise missiles missed because I fired on, I didn't anticipate where they might be, and I just fired where they were. I could have used 2 for one spot and 2 for another spot, but I made the mistake there. Then we're going to use our Vina to put some more pressure on the enemy there. T-15 is doing a really good job at winning those out. We get our Catarans, we're going to go ahead and resupply there. We notice that we only have 190 kilograms of supplies, so we're going to go ahead and get more there. Then we're going to sort of micro our T-80 over there, get them around so that way we can have them escape. We're going to put some smoke, or some cluster. Then we're going to start just moving over to the other points just to take those supply units. So it's been a lot of microing this game, but I've been making a lot of small mistakes that really cost me. Could have definitely had this earlier on in the game if I would have been making better decisions to hold the front line and to have a pretty good counteroffensive there. But again, a lot of this game really comes down to just having a proper balance. Because if you're not able to react accordingly, then you're just going to be at a deficit in that time. You want to make sure that you can respond to whatever they throw at you. And that's why I really love playing with the balanced deck. I don't like hyper focus on one specific area, like support or infantry or armor. I just try to have I can have a sort of a higher degree level of like those units. Like maybe it's focusing a little bit more on that, but it's still maintaining that healthy level of balance that I really like to seek out. So again, here just utilizing firing and moving, making sure that we're getting our units out of there. So that way that arty could be ineffective. We're going to use that Terminator to go ahead and seek that arty out. So we lost those 2 tanks in the front there, all the way in the front where we pushed his line. We're going to move up our supplies so that way we could regenerate our units and resupply our munitions. So we have our units pretty spread out here, but enough to where they could support one another. Our Sosnas are right there to cover our Terminator and our T-90 if a heli does pull up. And then we also have the Sosna in the front, just in case they decide to do a heli spam as well. There's also other Sosnas from our friend there. But our teammates are doing a great job. We have a pretty good offensive going here on the left, and they have a pretty good offensive and defensive going there on the right as well. So again, a lot of this game is also luck-based too. It's who you get and who you're going with to really determine the outcome of the game. Alright, so here we're just sort of pretty much just wrapping it up. We're going to start pushing. They're trying to get an offensive going here on the left. Not much they can do there, so we're going to go ahead and... Our Sosna is also engaging on the right. Misses there, but doing okay. It's going to be taken out by that friendly vehicle there. Going to push up our Sosnas so that way if they push again with the heli, we'll be able to respond accordingly. So we're going to move our T-80 back, try to resupply him. Going to smoke out that line so that way he has some cover. And I'm going to move up our T-80s with those other T-80s or T-90s. Terminator pushing up on the left to deal with any enemy units that are trying to get a flank going there. So here we're able to be pretty effective here. And those units on the right, I'm making the mistake of staying in one spot, and that's why, as you can see there, he's able to do some damage there with those missiles or those bombs. Which again, that's just making that small error of not moving my units effectively. There we're doing some damage with our Terminator. Great for taking care of enemy units and buildings. Only about 2 minutes left of this game, but it went back into our way. Able to really outmaneuver and just do better than our enemy here. Make better decisions. They did really good though. They were making I think their mistake was just being really too aggressive, and that's something that's hard to control. You really have to be patient and wait for the good moment to strike. Because if you be too aggressive, then you're gonna just end up losing what you have, and that's never a good thing. So here we're doing pretty good, and pretty much the game is won. This is probably one of the best matches I've ever had in this game. It was just really exciting to come back from that that lot, the losing that we're having there. Goodness cannot speak. So we have our units pulling up on the left there. We have those units on the right that are just pretty much ineffective. Can't really do anything. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of the game there. We did have some good improvements in the end. Have some fun just harassing our enemies there, not really giving them any hope for any chance of winning. We outmatched them on the kills and also on the zones. So we had a pretty good comeback. This was probably the best game that I've had in terms of just being able to mentally not check out and just push on through and make better decisions and improve as we go along, which really helped us here. But it's a lot of those things you just got to keep in mind, those concepts of having a balanced approach to this, making sure that you are constantly moving with units, just trying your best to make good decisions. So here we're gonna just go ahead and let's go ahead and speed it up a little bit. Or I'll just let it play out. But yeah, we did win this game. It was pretty fun. You can see what the score was at the end here. Our Cessna taking care of those enemy helis. The Cessna on the left taking care of enemy helis. And then just 3 seconds left. And there's not going to be much left here to do. And so that was it. That was the end of the game. It was a very fun match. And we'll go ahead and see what the score was here. So we were able to pull that out of our hat. And thanks to our team here, that did a very good job. And the enemy team was by no means low at all in their elo. Definitely medium to or whatever. They were good overall. Definitely were able to hold their own. Just making small mistakes here and there. And our team was able to get that comeback. I had really good teammates playing with some guys in the Discord, Cyber and or Nako Chip, but Sigil. They did a really good job. Love playing with them and really were able to get a really good comeback here. And I hope you guys learned something from this. It's fun doing these match analysis. I just got to work on my speaking and not stuttering and slowing down or slowing down more so that way you guys are able to understand. And again, apologize if there was any audio in the background, trying to reduce that as much as possible. But with that being said, if you guys enjoyed, definitely subscribe for more content. And if you guys want a good community to play with, then consider joining our Discord server. And with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next one.